After faith or iman, the status of righteous deeds is that of its corollary. When true faith is engendered in a person, just as its radiance lights up his inner self, it should also necessarily light up the deeds which emanate from him. If accordingly good deeds do not result from faith, it only means that faith has not taken firm roots in his heart. It is essential that there exists harmony and concord between faith and deeds. Imam Farahi has explained this aspect in his tafsir in the following manner. Righteous deeds are mentioned in the Qur'an right after faith in the capacity of an explanation. Similar is the case of the mention of obedience to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ after a mention of obedience to God. The need for this explanation arises because certain important aspects of certain words remain concealed. In the case of faith, the need for its explanation is obvious. The place of faith is the heart and the intellect. In matters of intellect and heart, not only can a person deceive others, but also at times he himself can remain in deception. He considers himself to be a mu'min or believer, whereas actually he is not. For this reason, two testimonies were needed to be required for it. That is, a person's words and his deeds. Since words can be untrue, hence a person who only professes faith through words is not regarded as a mu'min, and it was deemed essential that a person's deeds also testify to his faith. Thus the Qur'an said, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, aminu. O you who believe with the tongue, believe through your deeds. Surah number 4, page 136. Farahi, Majmu'at Tafasir, page 349. Whilst explaining the reason for regarding good deeds to be salihat or righteous, Imam Farahi writes, God has regarded good deeds to be salihat or righteous. This word actually alludes to a great piece of wisdom. The means for the apparent and hidden, worldly and religious, individual and collective, corporeal and intellectual development and advancement of a person are righteous deeds. In other words, righteous deeds are deeds which are a means of providing life and progress to a person, and through which a person can reach the highest rungs of development which are innately found in his nature. Farahi, Majmu'at Tafasir, page 352. Later, Farahi has further explained this point thus. This point can be understood, in other words, from the fact that man is part of the overall machine of this universe. Thus, only those of his deeds will be regarded as righteous, which are in harmony with the scheme and wisdom of God, which He has adopted for this collective system. The Almighty has not made this world a play place for children. There is a certain system of prudence which runs through this whole universe, and it is the will of the Almighty that whatever happens in this universe should be in harmony with this system of prudence. Farahi, Majmu'at Tafasir, page 353. Consider next the words, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. What is mentioned in the previous part of the verse primarily relates to the personal life of a person. However, a person does not merely have a personal life. By his very nature, he has a gregarious temperament. He is always a part of a family and member of a society. If he has adopted some other lifestyle, it is not because of his natural temperament and instinct. On the contrary, it is because of some unnatural deviation. His relationship with family and society is natural. Just as he receives support from these in his material life, he receives guidance from them for his moral and spiritual development. It is because of this assistance provided by family and society that an obligation is imposed on him that he should not remain indifferent to their welfare and well-being. If he does, it would be against decency. It is a requirement of human nature that people who become aware of the straight path that leads to faith and righteous deeds should also urge others to tread this path, and also urge each other to adhere to perseverance and patience. This is because without adhering to perseverance and patience, it is neither easy to adopt the truth and remain steadfast on it, nor is it easy to call people towards the truth. It should be kept in consideration that it has not been said that they call people towards faith and righteous deeds. On the contrary, it is said that they urge each other to adopt haqq and urge each other to show patience. This style has not only included in it what is found in the first part, it has also made very important additions to it. Iman is included to the utmost in Al-Haq because it is the right of God and, in fact, the greatest right of God. Similarly, righteous deeds either relate to the rights towards God or rights towards human beings. Hence, righteous deeds are also included in Haqq. It is evident from this discussion that believers do all these things as an obligation, urge others to adopt them, and also counsel others that discharging these obligations is no easier task. It requires patience and forbearance. Those who do not have this characteristic will find it very difficult to carry out these obligations. The word Haqq has been explained by Imam Farahi in his exegesis in the following words. The word Haqq is used primarily for what exists and continues to exist. However, it has different usages. Its usage in at least three meanings is very common and conventional in Arabic. A. Something which is certain. B. Something which is acknowledged to be true by intellect. C. Something which is a moral obligation. Farahi, Majmu' Tafasir, page 354. After citing various arguments from the Qur'an in favor of these three meanings, Imam Farahi writes, as far as special meaning that is showing sympathy to the weak and poor is concerned, it has sprung from its general meaning. It is as if this is the greatest haqq to the people of Arabia, which is incumbent upon every person who has the capacity to do it. It should be the right of every needy person. For this very reason, Ahsan is regarded to be a ma'ruf, which means something which is recognized and acknowledged by every person and has the status of an accepted law before all reasonable people. It is evident from this discussion that if the word haqq is taken to mean sympathy with the poor, it will reflect all the meanings of the word mentioned above. Farahi, Majmu' Tafasir, pages 354 and 355. While presenting his research on the word sabr, Imam Farahi writes, however, one should realize that to the Arabs, patience is not something of the sort of weakness and frailty which is the characteristic of the helpless and the feeble. In fact, to them it is the foundation of tenacity and resolve. This word has been amply used in classical Arabic poetry, and in all these usages it corroborates this view of the Arabs. Hatim Tai says, وَغَمْرَةُ مَوْتٍ لَيْسَ فِيهَا هَوَادَةٌ يَكُونُ الصُّدُورُ الْمُشْرِفِيِّ جُسُورُهَا صَبَرْنَا لَهُ فِي نَهْكِهَا وَمُصَابِهَا بِأَسْيَافِنَا حَتَّى يَبُوخَ سَعِيرُهَا. Against many horrible seas of death and life, over which there were bridges of swords, we showed perseverance with our swords against all their calamities until their heat went away. Farahi, Majmu' Tafasir, page 345. After citing the couplets of some famous classical poets, Imam Farahi has explained the meaning of sabr through the Qur'an itself in the following words. The Qur'an itself has revealed the real meaning of sabr. وَالصَّابِرِينَ فِي الْبَأْسَاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ وَحِينَ الْبَأْسِ. And those who are patient in adversity, illness, and in times of war. This verse mentions three situations to display sabr, that is, adversity, illness, and war. A little elaboration will show that these three are the fountainheads of hardships and difficulties. If a person remains steadfast in them, then he is a person blessed with the quality of patience. Farahi, Majmu' Tafasir, page 346. Whilst further explaining the mutual relationship between haqq and sabr, Imam Farahi writes, a summary of all these details is that haqq opens the door to all virtues and sabr closes the door to all evils. In other words, it can be said that haqq is what is really wanted and fondly desired, and sabr is the enthusiasm and passion to achieve it. It is not concealed from the eyes of the discerning that the real thing is steadfastness once a virtue is attained. One should now reflect how aptly and comprehensively all virtues and good deeds are combined in the two words of haqq and sabr, and how deep and vast is the relationship between the two. Here, in fact, many branches sprout from a root. Iman is like a foundation and a nucleus. Righteous deeds are mentioned after it as its explanation. Since haqq is cherished and liked by both the mind and the heart, and on it depends perfection and excellence of both, sabr is mentioned as a consequence for its love. To love and cherish something requires that a person possess the qualities of perseverance and steadfastness for it. It is very obvious that this perseverance and steadfastness is as per the status of what is loved and cherished. The more loved and cherished a thing is, the more the enthusiasm and vigor for it would boil in a person. The manifestation of the feelings of defense, anger, and sense of honor is not the same for all things. It varies. The more a thing is liked and loved, the more do the feelings of respect and honor arise for it. The reason for the Almighty's anger and fury is also because He holds Haqq dear. So those who damage it in any way invite His rage and wrath. Can a person silently bear the insult of something which is dear to him? His sense of honor will definitely incite him to defend it. A mother loves her child, and one knows that this love is not mere love. It also possesses a frenzied sense of honor, and when the time comes, this honor even sacrifices a mother in defense of her child. It is this sense of honor and protection which is found in nations for their rights and demands. So much so, a feeble dove also has such intense feelings of love and honor for her eggs and offspring that if someone tries to snatch them, she will always try to ward him off through her frail feathers. It is evident from this discussion that sabr in fact originates from one's love for Haqq. Farahi, Majmu' Tafasir, pages 355 and 356. Let us now see the relationship of faith and righteous deeds with urging one another towards Haqq and sabr. Imam Farahi writes in this regard, it is evident from the last part of this third verse, وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, that these people have in them the qualities of Haqq and sabr, and besides practically adhering to them, they also call others towards them. This aspect is found in between lines and has not been expressed in words. The reason for this is that it firstly was already found in the words Amanu wa amilu salihat, and secondly the lack of efficacy of a person who does not practice what he preaches. It's so obvious that at this instance in the verse where believers are praised for their qualities, one cannot even imagine that they would urge others to something which they themselves do not practically adhere to. It is evident from this discussion that just as righteous deeds have sprung from faith, mutual exhortation towards Haqq and sabr have sprung from righteous deeds. A person who cherishes and likes Haqq would always be ready to bear difficulties and hardships for its protection. It is essential that for it, his knowledge, love and sense of honor increase. He would not want that he merely himself love Haqq, he would also want the whole world to have the same feelings for it, and wherever he sees Haqq in subservience and facing oppression and evil in a dominant position, he would become anxious and, like a person having dignity and determination, would motivate others to defend and protect Haqq. Motivating and inspiring others for this purpose is a natural corollary and part of the sense of dignity and honor for Haqq found within himself. Thus, here the Almighty is mentioned urging others towards Haqq and sabr as actually a part and an explanation of righteous deeds. Farahi, Majmu' Tafasir, page 357. With the grace of God, with these lines, the explanation of the surah comes to an end. Falhamdulillahi awwalan wa akhir, or all gratitude from the beginning to the end is for God. Lahore, 24th April 1980 AD, 9th Jamadi Thani, 1400 AH.